What up, y'all? It's Tiara, and this video goes along with my first video. It's just gonna be about how I told my parents and my boyfriend at that time, and just stuff like that. So this is how it all started. I was texting my best friend Autumn, and I already had irregular periods, so I really wasn't sure if I was or not. So she got me from her stepmom a pregnancy test, and how she gave it to me is we were on the bus and we were young, so she wrapped it in 2 socks and handed it to me on the bus. And then when I got home the next morning, I took it and there were 2 pink lines. So I was so afraid, and I was so nervous too. So me and my boyfriend were fighting at the time about the situation, because he was obviously really nervous and scared. So I sent it to him, and there were rumors going around that it wasn't his child. You know how high school is. So he wasn't too sure about all of it. So really his mom had doubt that it wasn't his child, so they wanted proof and everything. I had to send a picture of the pregnancy test with me in it, with the test in my hand, with the 2 pink lines, because I know a lot of people do pranks and stuff about all that, but it was true. I was pregnant. There were 2 little pink lines. And then how I told my parents was I was at school and I had a class with my friend Autumn, and I'm just really, really nervous, just asking her a whole bunch of questions. She doesn't have a kid, so she didn't even know. But I'm well, how do I tell my parents and a whole bunch of other stuff? And I'm okay, they're gonna end up finding out. I'm a bigger person, but my stomach wasn't that big. So they weren't gonna end up finding out because I was huge when I got pregnant with my son. But I was in school, I was sitting at the desk. I was in, I think, science class. We weren't doing anything. So I wrote a letter. And I wrote a letter just saying how I feel and how sorry I am and a whole bunch of other stuff just about my feelings and stuff. And then I went home, I wrapped the test in the paper, and then I sat it on my parents' bed because they were both at work at the time. And I went in my room and locked my door and just laying in my bed just waiting for them to go home. Might I remind you, I was really, really nervous because I was only 15 at the time. I didn't know what they would think or what they would say. I was just so nervous, and my heart stopped and everything. So my dad was the first one to come home. I thought my mom was going to be, but it was my dad. And he saw on the bed, and he looked at the test and read the note and came pounding on my door, and I was just really nervous, and I was crying, and I didn't open it. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to see anybody. So he went to pick my mom up from work, and they came home. They walked through the door. So they walked through the door. My heart was beating so fast. And they both came knocking on my door. Tiara, you need to open this door. I'm just so nervous, and my mom was Tiara, you're gonna ruin your life. You're only 15, you're still in school, and a whole bunch of other stuff. And my mom started crying. She didn't talk to me for a little while, but my dad didn't talk to me for 2 weeks. And me and my dad are best friends, so that really, really broke my heart that I broke his heart. So I was we talked about it and everything. So that was really, really sad for me. So when we talked about it, that's my boyfriend right there. But we talked about it and a whole bunch of other stuff. So yeah, I there's really not much to tell. They didn't talk to me for a while. Obviously, they were upset about it. and a whole bunch of other stuff. So, I mean, now they love their grandson. Although he gets on everybody's nerves, we all love him. So, it was really hard for me to tell them, as you can see, but they were really upset about it. And then I had an appointment at my clinic just to make sure like everything was okay, and I actually was pregnant. So I went to the clinic and it was positive again. And I'm like, okay, it's starting to get to me now even more, like it was real that I was really pregnant. And it was so hard for me. And like I told my mom and them like it was positive. And of course my son's dad was doubted that the child was his because his mom was telling him things, and it was just crazy. But it was, I don't know, it was ridiculous because like she just kept putting things in his head. Like, yes, we did stay together. He still had in the back of his mind, like any guy would, that the child wasn't his and all that. And then he was born, and then it's hard to tell when you have a kid because, yes, he could look like the dad or he could look like the mom. And, of course, he looked like me a lot, so it was a little bit harder for him to tell if he was actually his. But he accepted him as his own. He held him for the first time. He fed him. He changed him. Like, it was like his own child. So, and it is his child. Although we didn't get a DNA test, we know for a fact that now it is his child, or he is his child. So, because now he looks even more like his dad, even more as he gets older. He looks more like his dad now, so where he was younger, he looked a lot like me. But that is the end of my video, and I'm going to end that here. Bye.